Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the free online education platform of Purvanchal IAS. So, this video is all about ethics, integrity, and aptitude, and this is the part of your gender studies paper number 4. And in this series, this is lecture number 15, English version. And before proceeding to the main content, I would like to give you a significant information. So, students, if you are interested for various study materials, so you can follow our Telegram group. You can also follow the Facebook page of Dr. Ravi P. Agrari. You can join Purvanchal IAS at Gorakhpur for face-to-face and live classes and take or gain better experience over there. And for the correspondence courses and publication, contact on these numbers, visit our website, and also you can use our email ID. Let's move for the next. So here we are with another important information. So this is the book of ethics, Niti Shastra, in both language, and they are published by Purvanchal IAS, and now they are available at Amazon and gyanworld.com. And the main thing is that this book will give you an abstract and a clear information or a better information about the entire content. So as per my suggestion, please read it once, and along with this, please keep listening my all the videos and be continue with your preparation. On this note, let's move for the next. Here we are with our main content, main topic. So today we are going to study attitude, under which we will understand the concept and the meaning. We will understand the nature of attitude, under which we will going to study cognitive component, affective factor, behavioral component, and the next we will understand the types of attitude, and lastly we will see the attitude with prejudice. So let's move for the next and understand this topic at a clear level. So this is the slide in which we will understand the meaning or the definition of attitude. So, attitude can be defined as a psychological tendency to view a particular object or behavior with a degree of favor or disfavor. Yes, attitudes are generally understood to be performed through a process of individual subjective evaluation and also influenced by affective and emotional response and related beliefs. So it is defined as being specific to an object or behavior, while beliefs are more generic, relating to a wider worldwide, and tend to be more stable. This is the short information about attitude. And we can say that it is an set of mind. It is acquired and relatively persisting tendency or predisposition to evaluate an object in a certain way and to act accordingly. And in more simple term, if we talk about the dictionary meaning of attitude, so it is a settled behavior as indicating opinion. This is the simplest form. And according to the Thurston, he has defined that it is an attitude in which it is the degree of positive or negative feeling associated with some psychological object. I mean to say, he said that the sum of total of man's inclination and feeling, prejudice or bias, preconceived notions, ideas, fears, threats, and convictions about any specific or particular topic is known as attitude. It is a subjective and a personal affair. It can't be objective. It is totally a subjective affair, a personal affair. And the term opinion symbolizes an attitude. In fact, it is the verbal expression of attitude, verbal expression. Thus, our orientation towards people, objects, and events is guided by attitudes. Attitudes are learned from socialization. It's a hardcore connection between socialization with attitude. In my 14th lecture, I have talked about socialization at broader level. So go and listen to it first before understanding the attitude. So attitude is um set of mind in which it is acquired relatively resisting tendency, and it evaluate an object in a particular manner, in a particular way, in a certain way, and it acts accordingly. This is attitude. And attitudes may change. That is, we loved saving previously, but none prefer to freely our income for a better lifestyle. Canned foods were frowned upon a few years ago, but now we have came up to accept them. So attitude influence purchase decisions, that is investment in stocks in preferred by risk taking individuals. So it changed always according to the circumstances and situations. And if a person holds a favorable beliefs towards an object, he will generally behave in supportive manners towards that involve what people think about, feel about, and how they would like to behave towards an attitude object. Behavior is not only determined by what people like to do, but also by what they think they should do. This is the main characteristic of an attitude. So, in our next slide, let's understand the characteristics of attitude. So attitude have several important characteristics or properties, and some of them they are just they have an object, they have direction, intensity, and degree. They have consistency, they are learned, and attitudes occurs within a situation. So one by one, we will understand it clearly. So according to the very first point, attitude have an object. So attitude must have an object. Must. That is, they must have a focal point. Whether it be an abstract concept such as ethical behavior, or a tangible item such as motorcycle. So the object can be physical things such as product, or it can be an action such as buying a washing machine, and in addition the object can be either one item such as a person, or a collection of items such as a social group. And it is also can be either a specific or general. Thus, the word object interpreted broadly include specific consumption or marketing related concepts such as products category, brand, service, product use, cause and issues, people, advertisement, price, medium, or retailer. These all are object interpreted. So, attitude must have an object. So, according to the second point, attitude has a direction, intensity, and degree. Under this, an attitude expresses how a person feels towards an object. It expresses firstly direction, that is, direction means the person is either favorable or unfavorable toward and any object, and degree says how much the person either likes or dislikes the object. This is the likes or dislikes the object. And thirdly, intensity says the level of sureness or confidence of expression about the object, and how strongly a person feels about his or her convictions. So, the direction, intensity, and degree of a person's attitude toward a product have set to provide marketers with an estimate of his or her readiness to act toward or purchase the product. And however, a marketer must also understand how important the consumer's attitude is, vice versa, other attitudes, and the situational constraints such as ability to pay that might inhibit the consumer from marketing a purchase decisions. So it's important to have direction, intensity, and degree under attitude. And the third point is attitudes have consistency. This is another characteristics of attitude. And it is that they are relatively consistent with the behavior they reflect. However, despite their consistency. Attitudes are not necessarily permanent, they do change. Always remember, they always change according to the certain circumstances and situations. Under this, for example, if a Dutch consumer reported preferring preferring a German over Japanese automobiles, we should expect that the individual would be more likely to buy a German car when next in the market for a new car. But the matter of affordability may intervene, and the consumer would find a particular Japanese car to be more realistic choice than the German car. Therefore, we must consider possible situational influence on consumer attitudes and behavior. So it is consistence. This is the uh, main characteristic of an attitude, that is, they have consistency. And the third point is attitudes are a learned predisposition. So, just as a golf swing, a tennis stroke, and tests are learned, so are attitude. Attitudes develop from our personal experiences with reality, as well as from information from friends, family, media, religion, caste, etc. There are many agents of attitude. They are also derived from both direct and indirect. Thus, it is important to recognize that learning precede attitude formation and change. This means that attitude relevant to purchase behavior are formed as a result of direct experience with the product, information acquired from others, or exposure to mass media advertising, various forms of direct marketing. Okay, so as a learned predisposition, attitudes have a motivational quality. Always remember and pay attention to my sentence and words. As learned predisposition, attitudes have a motivational quality. That is, they might propel a consumer towards a particular behavior or repel the consumer away from a particular behavior. So, this is the fact, the attitudes have a learned predisposition. I hope you understand this. The last and the fifth point is attitude occurs within a situation. It occurs within and are affected by the situation. By situation, we mean events or circumstances that particular point in time influence the relationship between an attitude and consumers behave in ways seemingly inconsistent with their attitude. We have taken example of consumer and marketers. So I am just giving you a example in perspective of these two people. Okay, and indeed, individuals can have a variety of attitude toward a particular behavior, each corresponding to a particular situation. And thus, when measuring attitudes, it is important to consider the situation in which the behavior takes place, or we can misinterpret the relationship between attitudes and behavior. And further specific situations might influence consumer attitude towards a specific brands of product or service. So it occurs directly within the situation. So these are some characteristics of attitude. I hope you are able to understand. Let's move for the next. So here we will understand the structure of attitude. So we have seen that attitudes can be thought of as an overall evaluation, that is like or dislike of an attitude object. So this definitional perspective has generated a number of conceptual models of the attitude concepts, and they are cognitive component, affective component, behavioral component. These three are much important. So let's understand very firstly cognitive component. So it is a attitude refers to beliefs, thoughts, and attributes we associate with a particular object. In many cases, a person's attitude might be based primarily upon a consideration of the positive and negative attributes about the attitude object. Let's take an example. When one of us recently bought a new car, take an example. He devoted considerable attention to factors such as different vehicles, that is, safety records, petrol mileage, resale value, and repair cost. In this example, attitudes toward the different cars were formed via a consideration of the positive and negative characteristics of each car. So cognition have an impact on many type of attitude. So cognitions in the form of beliefs are the key part of one approach to attitude, which argues that attitudes are derived from more elementary cognitions about the attitude object. Okay, so simply it determines a mental picture uh, we have acquired for a particular object or matter. This is cognitive component. Let's understand the affective component. And the affective component refers to feelings or emotions associated with an attitude object. Affective responses influence attitudes in a number of ways. Like primary ways in which feelings affect attitudes is due to affective reactions that are aroused in the individual after exposure to the attitude object. For instance, many people indicate that a spider make them feel scared. These negative affective response are likely to produce a negative attitude towards spider. Simple. So the way we feel about something, it is the effective part of an attitude, and it may vary from the way we think, fear, sympathy, love, hate, envy, contempt, anger, etc. These all refers to the affective component. Let's move to the next and understand the behavioral component. So behavioral component of attitudes refers to past behavior with respect to an attitude object. It refers to a past behavior. For instance, people might infer that they have a negative attitude towards nuclear power plants if they recall having previously signed a petition against having a nuclear power plant built near their neighborhood. The idea that people might infer their attitudes on the basis of their previous action was developed. This is called behavior component. So it is an attitude and tendency or disposition of an act in a certain way with reference to some object, events, or situation. And the disposition of an act may be caused by the cognitive and affective components both. Now, this is the last topic, prejudice. Let's understand this. So, the quite literally, prejudice means to prejudge. That is, prejudge. Or to form an opinion about something before all the facts are gathered. One of the earliest psychological explanations of the prejudice described it is an antipathy based on faculty and inflexible generalization towards a group as a whole or towards an individual because they are the member of that group. And the first thing that this explanation tells us it is that prejudice is not something logical or based in fact, but rather on a series of assumptions, half truth, and guesses. Okay? And secondly, it tells us is that prejudice is based on generalization, on a whole host of characteristics and qualities that we assume a person has based purely on the fact that he or she is a member of a particular group. Okay? If prejudice is like uh, we are judging someone very quickly without thinking and without study their conditions and situations, this is all about prejudice. And if prejudice is an attitude, then discrimination is the manifestation of that prejudice and a stigma, or as we will go on to call it, a label, is the result. But how does a prejudiced negative view affect the people being stigmatized? And why does this lead to a label being placed or on them? And sorry for interruption. So, a great deal of prejudice is unconscious, reflected in the basic stereotyped assumptions that we make about others every day. And these generalizations affect our behavior and cause us to discriminate against whole sections of the society. And eventually, large groups became ghettoist, ghettoized, and the people within these groups feel isolated and alone. Understand one more thing. Frequently, we make false generalization, not through hate it, but just because in many cases it is easier to do so than to understand the real differences and complexities of our world. So we may think that comment such as black people are good at sport, or women are more romantic than men, or Jewish people are good at making money, are innocent enough. They all contain assumptions and half truth that we use to categorize and ultimately stereotype the people who belong to those groups. Remember this and try to understand. So the world can be a confusing place. And one way to make sense of this chaos to put things in boxes and categorize what we see, rather than trying to uh, process the complex nature of things. It is far simpler for us to generalize our experiences. Psychologists who work within this school of thought suggest that prejudice is a consequence of our natural tendency to categorize the world in order to make sense of it. Such stereotypes are not based on fact, but rather on what we think is right from our limited experiences and upbringing. I hope you're understanding this. So the important question is that how can we challenge prejudice? So we can start asking uh, questions about ourselves and quite literally creating a checklist to challenge our own values and views. That is this true? Do I, do I have all the facts? Am I overgeneralizing? Am I focusing on one or two negative aspects instead of considering the whole picture, entire picture? Am I labeling this group or person unfairly? So just making the first step of looking at the questioning the common sense views we hold about people, groups, or any culture would be a major step forward in opening our eyes to our own labels or prejudice and challenging this preconception we have. So, this was the last sentence of this lecture. Thank you so much for listening to me. And once again, I would like to say that join Purvanchal IAS because this is an economical institute in India. Stands for the weaker section of the society. And till then, goodbye, be cheerful, and be happy. Thank you so much.